Hello, everybody. I am glad to be doing another story time here today. This story time is a pretty good one, so we'll get into it. This story time happened pretty much. I want to say this happened. It wasn't too long ago. This was like about 3 months ago, at around the beginning of September, or that might have been 4 months ago. My math is kind of shit. I'm not really cut out for math. But this included some of my friends. Two of my main friends that this includes is my friend Chris and my friend Max. Now, my friend Chris, I'm like really close with this guy. I've known this guy since sixth grade. You know, we've done all kinds of stuff together. Chris is a cool ass dude. Max, on the other hand, I've only like actually hung out with him at school for like 5 weeks, and he was a foster kid, so like eventually he had to like go back to his foster place, so we don't get to see him around anymore, which is pretty sad. Me and Max got to like know each other because one of my other friends, this is like a completely separate story time I'll get to eventually. It's really fun, kind of funny, kind of sucky at the same time, but I'll save that one for another day. But, I think that's enough backstory. So, one day in early September, this was like one of the first few days, anywhere from like, I'd say September 4th to like September 10th. Um, I'm just hanging out. I don't know if Chris was there yet, because like, people kind of just show up whenever. Like, and this was like the morning hours of school. Like, nobody had any classes. We were kind of just hanging around for like a good 20 minutes before school shows up. But, Max shows up. I almost accidentally said his actual name, but he shows up and he pulls out like one of these whole melts. I don't know if you've ever seen them before, but he hands me this. He's like, "Yo, bro, you trying to hit this?" So I go, "Yeah." So what I do is, I don't know if you've ever hit one of these before, but I press the button and I just hit it. I take a fat ass rip. It wasn't like a blinker, but it was like half a blinker, you know what I mean? So, I coughed like twice. I wasn't like going crazy, but I coughed twice, came out, and he takes like two and he's coughing, but I mean he's enjoying it. He took it like a champ. I take another one, he takes one, I take another one, and he gives it to me and he's like, "Come on, bro, go for it." And I go for it, and then at this point, I don't know if you know this, but this pen, surprise surprise, it's very 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 obviously fake. The counterfeit ones aren't always like complete shit. You got to think what that really means. It was counterfeit, but, it wasn't the worst. I'm not really sure if it was, like, that bad. It was bad enough, but, like, not horrible. Like, it was kind of just, like, where it was, like, ever so slightly shitty, where you wouldn't get as high as you'd want to be, and it kind of just has that, like, cheap oil, like, distillate taste to it, you know what I mean? Fast forward to the start of first period. I'm just with Chris, and at this point I'm pretty high because I was ripping Max's pen, and me and Chris are just over there chilling. Chris is completely sober, but I know Chris likes to do some shit. Sadly enough, it was actually me that kind of got him onto that. So thank my stupid ass for that. But I was asking him like, "Hey, after this, we're planning to go." Okay, I'm gonna need to give a little bit more backstory here. At my school, there's this, I don't want to say its specific name, because if anybody else goes to my school, it's gonna be very obvious, but my school has like different sectors where it's like classroom sectors, where it's like big different chunks of classrooms that can hold up about like 500 kids at once, but there's this one that's like really 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 far away from like all the other ones, and it's like we're like out where we do PE. And I'm at a school in California, so it's like an outdoor school. You know what I mean? But back to the story. I was talking to Chris, and I was saying, like, "Hey, dude, after PE, do you want to go over to that, like, classroom chunk over there with me and Max, and do you want to go hit some shit?" And he's like, "Yeah, dude, let's do it." So me and him, I don't really remember what we did during PE. I'm pretty sure we just went to the track and did around 2 laps. So after those 2 laps, we, go back in the locker room. We dap up the locker room attendant, which is pretty much just a security guard, but like specifically for the locker room. But this dude was chill as fuck. He could do like pretty much anything, and he would just let it fly. He would dap you up. He's cool as fuck. He'd say, "Have a good day." He'd say, "God bless," which, I'm not the most religious guy ever, but, like, that's a pretty fucking nice thing to say to someone, like, considering, like, what it means. But we get our backpacks out of the lockers, and me and Chris walk out of the locker room, and me and Chris are walking together, and we walk out. We start walking out to the, like, classroom chunk area, and everybody's still in class, because the PE kids get let out before everyone else, so we're just walking, and eventually the bell rings. At this point, we're already, like, near, like, the bathroom area, and I see Max walking up to us, and then we all go in, and we go into the bathroom, and then Max pulls out the pen. He then hands it to me. At this point, I took literally almost a blinker. It was like 2 seconds away from being a blinker. I fucking coughed my ass off. Like, it was bad. So I'm coughing for what I'd want to say was like a good, like, 45 seconds. You know, Max gives me some water. And then Chris is like, hey, can I take a big hit off of that? And then I look at Max. I'm like, hey, Max, can Chris take a hit off of that? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then Max passes the pen to Chris. And then Chris grabs it. Now, Chris, at this point, hadn't hit a pen in, like, kind of a long time. So he didn't really know, like, how crazy he was supposed to do. So what he does is he presses the button, and he starts hitting it. And he has this stupid, like, ugly smirk, like, just slapped right onto his face while he's hitting it. And he's just hitting harder and harder and harder. And if you know anything about carts, you don't really, like, feel the burn until you breathe it out. But then I see him holding it in, which holding it in doesn't really do anything. But then, like, you know when you have water in your mouth and you, like, see something funny and you just go and you spit it all out? That's what this dude does, but, like, the smirk gets wiped off of his face. It gets replaced with a face of pure terror. And then the pen flies out of his hand, fucking, like, chips the bathroom sink. He falls to the ground, and he's, like, just hysterically coughing. There's tears coming out of his eyes, snot pouring out of his nose, just coughing. And he was coughing, he was like scream coughing so loud, so I got nervous, and I went outside real quick to keep watch. My eyes at this point are probably pretty red, and then when I look out, I just see a line of teachers standing outside, just looking right at the bathroom, and they're just, like, nodding their heads no, because they already knew exactly what was happening. Did they give a fuck? No, because they see it every day. Did they think it was funny? Probably. I didn't really think it was funny at the moment because, I don't know, I needed to let it, like, marinate. But yeah, honestly, like, looking back at this, like, later on in the day, I was laughing so fucking hard about it. Like, him coughing, I don't know, that shit was just funny. I think the funniest part about all of this is, like, I gave it a good, like, 3 minutes to try to let it hit him, and I say to Chris, I'm like, hey, dude, are you feeling it yet? And the funniest thing is that this dude literally just fucking did self-harm to his lungs, and he wasn't even fucking feeling it. But then Max says, guys, apparently security's coming from, like, a mile away. So then we all start walking out of the chunk of classrooms, if you will, and we just start speed walking, and then we see the security cart go past us, and then some other kids who were just kids that were going to go use the bathroom that didn't even know each other, they got searched. We didn't get searched, and we were like, fuck. It was scary. And, you know, after this, you know, the whole melt that Max had lasted us, like, a little bit. You know, we were taking notes off of it. Even though it was shitty, you know, cheap oil, cheap distillate, you know, it was pretty decent. It was the candy peach ring one, you know. Didn't really taste so much like candy peach ring. Tasted more like cheap distillate mixed with, like, charred ass and charcoal. But, you know, it got the job done to some degree. But yeah, this story was definitely more or less a close call, because if security had caught us, let alone searched us, Max, like, didn't really, like, have a hiding spot for the pen. He would just put that shit in his pocket, which, you know, that's a pretty normal thing to do. At least he's not, like, one of those fucking freaky weirdos who's fucking just putting it in his ball sack. But we all smelled like weed and stuff. So this story was probably nothing short of a close call, in my opinion. So, you know, that's what I'm going to be calling it. I will be posting again tomorrow. Hell, since tomorrow's a Friday, I might just fuck around and make 2 videos if, you know, I can, like, think of 2 actually, like, good, decent story times to tell. And it's not just, like, some shitty one about, like, how I got my math homework done or some shit. But, yeah. That's a story time on 1, how my friend took a big ass rip and he was coughing, my friendship with this guy Max, and how we almost got caught, and, you know, I guess I'll see you in the next one. So yeah.